Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Overtime, presented by TV2 Sports. I'm your host, Timmy Carlile, joined by Matt Carlile, Ryan Shanko, and Maddox Miller. Let's hop right into some Kent State athletic discussions first.
Up first on Overtime, we take a glimpse at the Kent State women's basketball team. Currently sitting at 14-6 overall with a 9-2 conference record, the Flashes sit at third place in the Mid-American Conference. Do the Lady Flashes have a real shot to win this thing and go to the big dance? We'll discuss.
And I am absolutely all in here on Overtime for Kent State women's basketball.
Come on!
How can you not be right now? We're playing amazing ball.
We are playing
National Women and Girls in Sports Day, and the Flashes went out there and got the dub against Western Michigan.
Fantastic.
The game was absolutely electric, boys. How we feeling?
We feel really good. This is a team that can really make some noise in the Mid-American Conference tournament. Ball State up there. They're the first ranked team. They're unbeaten in Mid-American Conference play, but there's still a major hurdle that Kent State has had to feed off of the last couple of years. That's the Toledo Rockets. The general feeling is that someone else has to beat Toledo for us to win the MAC. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting from this squad. We talked about the records in the Tees Open, but Toledo was 17-4 overall, 10-1 in the MAC. And on January 17th, Toledo came into our house and beat Kent State 87-76. A big reason why, to me, Tricia Cullip, their head coach. She's been with the program since 2008, consistently put Toledo in a place where they can go on a dangerous run in the MAC tournament and possibly put them in a chance to win the conference. She's done it twice in her career. Toledo is the gold standard in terms of Mid-American Conference women's basketball, and KSU and Toledo will wrap up the regular season March 9th at Savage Arena.
That's a big game, and this is a Toledo team. They won the MAC last year. Then they went to March Madness, and they beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
That was the only game they won.
I believe so.
Yeah,
off the top of my
but
head,
still, that's a big win for a MAC team against an SEC program like that. So you are absolutely right. I mean, that's just a monster obstacle to get over. But do you think it can happen?
I mean, it really comes down. They play Ball State one more time. They play Toledo one more time. I truly believe if Kent State can win, if they win both of those games, put the favorite on Kent State to run through the MAC tournament. If they win one of those games, they have a chance. But if they drop both, then it truly is Ball State, Toledo are your number one and number two. You would need some upsets to happen in the MAC tournament for Kent State to have a better shot at winning the tournament and going to March Madness. I think it's possible. The problem is Kent State only has 2 MAC losses. Who are those MAC losses to?
Yep.
Toledo and Ball State. So you have to get your get back and beat those teams, one on the road, one at home, closing out the season with Toledo, like you said earlier. And if you can accomplish that, then there's no reason that this women's team can't win the MAC.
Who's a player you guys think needs to step up if we're going to get those dubs?
That's a good question. I'd go Corinne Hauser, because it seems as though that the general consensus is that Katie Schumann and Jenna Batch, especially with Jenna Batch having a lot more improvement from this season to last. And even though Corinne Hauser is a very good player, I feel as though that she's had a little bit of experience here with this team. She can definitely rise to another level and be that third player to kind of have like that 3-headed monster for Kent State women's basketball come into full effect. It's there a little bit, but in it come to full effect, that's how they're going to beat Toledo. That's how they're going to beat Ball State in the regular season and in Cleveland. I feel as though that is going to be kind of like the missing link, and the guy to do it, to get Corinne Hauser up the notch, absolutely is going to be Todd Starkey. He's been with this program for a long time. He knows how to win in this conference.
Second most winningest coach in Kent State history.
Absolutely. And it seems as though that is going to be the guy to kind of light a fire under Corinne Hauser to rise to a level of play that we may have never seen from her. And she is a very talented basketball player, and it is going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is when we played Ball State the first time, this is a game that probably winnable because these Flashes shot 25% from the free throw line, and I think in the 30s percent-wise overall for the game. So if those shots go down and if they make their free throws, it could have been a completely different outing.
Well, let me tell you what, they looked extremely tough in their game against Western Michigan. There were a lot of players that I saw, and I know you guys already named a bunch of the key players, but I saw players like Abby Ogle really stepping up and showing toughness. She took a flop right in front of me on the fall, got a good pass off, but it was crazy to watch her toughness and resiliency as she got back up and continued playing. And then I got to talk about our beasts in the paint. Tatiana Thomas and Janae Tyler were absolutely incredible underneath, getting boards, getting points, and really propelling this team forward. And like you said, our coach is really what's going to carry them to the finish line here. He's got that experience for us, being here since 2016, and he knows what he's doing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is Janae Tyler a freshman?
I do not know off the top of my head.
I was going to say, I know she's new to the program, and if she is one of those underclassmen first-year, second-year players, how about that little future look ahead for Kent State women's basketball?
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Electric.
So how about we talk about the men's?
All right, I think it's time to transition over to some men's basketball, shall we? Boys are looking pretty good right
Now, on Overtime, we discuss the Kent State men's basketball team. They currently sit at 5-6 in the Mid-American Conference with a 12-11 overall record, which sits them at 6th place in the MAC. Is it time to hit the panic button? We'll discuss.
And it's still the first episode of Overtime, so we're still learning the flows and discussions of everything. Now we are ready to jump into some men's basketball discussions.
Yes, sir.
And the boys are looking pretty good right now. We finally got over 500, got another huge win against Western Michigan at home last week.
Yeah, I feel as though even though we're on a little bit of a back-to-back wins, when the head coach is burning sage and a guy that's been here for over a decade, something's up. When I watch this team, I feel like the loss of Sincere Carey, Malik Jacobs, and Myron Thomas hurts a lot more than I thought a lot of people would have thought. They did a lot of the heavy lifting last season in terms of finishing off games, turning games into wins, turning wins into conference tournament wins and championships. And when now you turn to the younger guys for the first time, like Jalen Solinger is going to be a leader, Chris Payton's a leader, and it's hard to duplicate what you can do in 1 year, right in the blink of an eye, compared to what those guys did in about 2 or 3 years. So look, they have the opportunity tomorrow. Like we said, they've won 2 in a row. If they beat Troy on the road, they'll have their second winning streak of the season. But right now, this to me is a team that's barely going to get in the MAC tournament and lose round 1 to a Akron team that is very talented and loaded, might I add, loaded.
I agree.
Definitely.
Everything, the burning sage, the lack of win streaks, the production that we lost from last season, it's been tough. But like you said, didn't expect to see this happen. Chris Payton, this is a guy who came out before the season and said that he wanted to win MAC Player of the Year, thought he could win MAC Player of the Year. He doesn't start anymore. He plays 20 minutes a game maybe. He gets in foul trouble constantly early on in almost every game. So it's just a question of where does the scoring come from, where does the rebounding come from, and aside with the players who've struggled this year, the injuries as well. I mean, the injury bug has just been brutal for the Flashes this season.
So I want to go back to a point that you said about the win streaks. That, in my opinion, is the biggest problem right now. The Flashes have only had 3 win streaks all season if you count winning back-to-back games as a streak, including this one. In basketball, which is a longer stretch season, trading wins and losses is unacceptable. Because if you just trade your wins and losses, where does that get you? 500. That gets you to okay, maybe a 6th place, 7th, 8th place finish in the conference. So even though they are on a 2-game win streak and could extend it to 3, the problem was earlier on in the season where the inability to get 4-game win streaks, 5-game win streaks, these big monster runs that were probably expected of this team heading into the season, winning the MAC, making March Madness, they just haven't happened. And that's a team thing. We can talk about individual players, we can talk about, Coach burning sage and how that is, but it really comes down to, can the team win multiple games? And once you look at the tournament, that's all it is. Can you string together the amount of wins to get to the championship and win the MAC? I think with how much they have struggled to string together wins, that will hurt them the most in the tournament, where if you lose, you're done. Like, there's no second chance. There's no, ability to get back in.
Yeah, it's not a double elimination, it's
No.
single elimination. And like you said, they can't string together wins, and I think that really comes down to the offense that this team runs, or rather like the offense that this team doesn't run. It looks very much to me like a high school swing motion offense. They have no identity, and when you run a swing motion offense, you have to be able to shoot the lights out. And it's been so streaky
Now, boys,
that we haven't really seen the ability for them to do that.
we're down, but we're not out. We did win
That
the
is
MAC
true.
tournament last year. We are showing some improvements. I mean, our coach has been around for a while. If some guys step up and have a big games, we can get streaky and we can make it.
And
you know?
especially with the fact that there is still a lot of ball left to be played in the regular season alone. But if we can get that taste of the James Madison game, we were in the building, of
That was electric.
what that game could have become. The Dukes were just off the cusp of beating Michigan State and East Lansing, and the Flashes were a play or two away. That went wrong, that could have gone right.
Yeah,
They would have won us that game.
we were a bad foul call and an inbounds play away from beating a team that was in the top 25 for 5 or 6 weeks of this season and has only lost 3 games.
So lots of hope and excitement as we get towards the end.
It's there. They just need to find it, and if they find it, look out, because they're going to get
Exactly.
hot at the right time.
Well, all right, guys. Next, we'll keep things up on the home soil. We'll talk Cavs and Guardians after this. All right, let's hop into Cleveland sports now, starting off with the Cavaliers.
Now on Overtime, we'll discuss the Cleveland Cavaliers and their shot to come out of the Eastern Conference. After a disappointing end to their season last year and a loss in 5 games to the New York Knicks, what can the Cavs do in this year's postseason?
And now, I expect the Cavs this postseason to win a playoff series.
Oh,
coming
absolutely.
off of last
No,
season's
that should
disappointment.
be the expectation, because if they don't, something is seriously wrong. Because this team they're good. They're very good.
Yeah, and it says on the lower third there on the graphic, is this the year for the Cavs? In terms of winning the title, no, it's not. I hate to say it, but no. But this stretch where they have won 16 of their last 17, they have proven to the NBA that they are a contender in the East, especially with the fact that most of those games were with no Evan Mobley and no Darius Garland due to injury. And the reason why, Donovan Mitchell. He may be a reserve in the All-Star game, but especially in this last month, he has been playing like his starter, like that franchise player that the Cavaliers haven't had since a guy named LeBron. James was in the
Absolutely.
white and gold.
Going off that, Matt, I want to say that Donovan Mitch has had 25 points and 50% field goals in his last 7 games.
And something
ahead.
else that's crazy, over this past month, he has had 3 games of 40 points or more. Do you know how hard that is in a 30-day span on average to score 40 points or more 3 times in the National Basketball Association, the toughest league when it comes to basketball? That's crazy.
Maddox,
Crazy.
Did he just compare Donovan Mitchell to LeBron?
He definitely
we-
did.
Oh, no.
He said the stats.
All I'm-
then.
Oh,
The stats. He's in the stats with LeBron.
He's
They
got
both
some
have
work
had
to
that
do.
same
He's got
stat.
some work to do if he wants to be named compared to
7
LeBron.
games of 25 points and 50% shooting.
Donovan
LeBron
Mitchell-
did it twice, and now Donovan did it this season. That's fair to put him in the same conversation.
Ooh. Wow.
That was crazy.
That's
All
I
I'm
don't
saying,
mean all time. I meant this conversation.
all I'm saying,
Gentlemen.
Oh,
all
my
I'm
hands.
saying is
Okay.
that the Cavaliers
They're in the
haven't had a guy where you look at them and say, there's a franchise player since LeBron.
Oh, yeah, for
It's
sure.
Donovan Mitchell this year.
You don't think Dylan Windler was...
Can't say no.
Kyrie Irving hit the greatest shot in Cavs history.
LeBron was still there.
I agree. Okay,
LeBron set it up.
that's
LeBron
fair.
still set
LeBron
it
did
up.
That's
set
fair. Okay.
People don't talk about J.R. Smith getting in the way of Iguodala, so he had to do the theatrics and come up like that for the layup so LeBron could block it. But
Yeah,
hey,
team game.
Whatever.
Team game.
Anyways, let's talk about some of the issues with the Cavs and like a potential run. For me, I look at this Cavs team like, yeah, they're great. Their offense has been incredible. Jared Allen's been locking it down on defense, but it looks like a top-heavy team. They look very top-heavy. Donovan Mitchell and Jarrett Allen are the Cleveland Cavaliers, in my opinion. So I worry what happens if Donovan Mitchell has an off game. I worry what happens if Donovan Mitchell gets injured, because that's something a team has to be aware of, the possibility of their star player going down. So we hope it doesn't happen for the sake of the league, because he's so fun to watch. But what do you guys What are your thoughts? Like, look at this Cavs team, minus Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen, where does the scoring come from? Where does the defense come from, especially off the bench?
I don't know about off the bench because that's a little bit of a weak link in the terms of the Cavaliers. But
Yeah.
Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, since they came back, they're getting the job done. They're providing more help in terms of scoring the basketball. And for me, that's why I think because of that, and if you have maybe Max Strus come on a little bit, I think this team's limit is the Eastern Conference Finals as we sit here on the 9th of February. I mean, this is a team that can muster off a playoff series or two. And I don't think they'll have the depth to knock off the Boston Celtics, who I think will be meeting with them in the ECF, but I think they can get to that stage at the most. Excuse me.
Yeah, I agree. I worry about the Cavs bench depth a lot because you've got Strus and LeVert coming off the bench. Those are the only guys of note make an impact for Cleveland in the second unit. And when you're in the playoffs, especially in the NBA, you need to have guys coming off the bench who can give you 20, who can give you 22, give you 12 rebounds in a game where you didn't expect them to perform in, because in the playoffs, that's just the nature of NBA playoff basketball. You have to have more guys than your top guys. And I don't know if the Cavaliers have that right now.
So, I mean, this season really feels like a tale of two halves. If you talk about this new year, 2024, the Cavs are playing electric. We're up point differential 276 points against our opponents right now. So I'm not too worried about scoring and overcoming injuries. They've proved already they can do that this season. So you take away a piece or two, I'm not too worried. I mean, we'll see how things go, but there is a great upside for this Cavs team right now. They're playing very well.
Absolutely. What do you say we go from the court to the diamond?
Let's
There's
do
another
it.
team in Cleveland, right?
There's a
There
few.
is.
There's a few.
There is.
Now we shift gears to the Cleveland Guardians. Disappointing season for them as well last year, as they were picked to win the American League Central and ended up not being able to get it done. In a season with a new manager in Stephen Vogt, filling big shoes left by Terry Francona, what will this year look like for the Cleveland Guardians and the rest of the AL Central?
The Guardians, very young, a lot of promise. Stephen Kwan, Josh Naylor, Bo Naylor, Jose Ramirez is still playing here in Cleveland. The problem is, first off, you have a new manager, brand new manager, Stephen Vogt. I do not doubt his abilities, but I am concerned. No prior managerial experience, and he is filling in for arguably the greatest manager in Cleveland history. Like it said, big shoes to fill. I think this Guardians team has a lot of potential. The problem is, will that potential be fulfilled? We saw 2 years ago, they went to the postseason, won a series, won a wild card game, played hard against the Yankees, and that was the expectation heading into last year was, oh, they'll continue the momentum. The players will continue to develop. The young talent will increase. And it didn't. It fell off the wheels, a mediocre season, a third-place finish in the division.
There was a considerable sophomore slump on a lot of those rookies. And a lot of true baseball fans were looking at their stats from that 2022 campaign and thinking there's no way they're going to be able to do that again. And honestly, that's what happened. But when you put up record numbers, it's hard to go out and break those records a year later, you know? They had a historic record-breaking season in 2022 in terms of rookie production. So now I'm looking at rookie production coming out of our manager, which, like you touched on, Maddox, is some insane shoes to fill.
And that's why I think this team's ceiling is 81 wins, just 500, because they have the guys, they have that roster, they have the talent. Because obviously we saw it 2 years ago when the Guardians made the ALDS and almost took down the Yankees in 5. But now you have a rookie manager in Stephen Vogt who's 39. It's just going to be a matter of time to see how he kind of adjusts to a new city, new team, and leading a group of men for the first time.
I look for a lot of the leaders on our team to step up and carry him a little bit and help him. You know, we have a winning organization. We've proved that over the years of Terry Francona. And now just because we're switching out one player, and that being the coach, a very important part of the team, I'm not extremely concerned, but you're filling some of the biggest shoes of my entire life. I mean, he is the best manager that I've seen in the Guardians during my lifetime.
Well, Matt, ceiling set at 81 wins. I think that's pretty fair. But this team, they still have Jose Ramirez. They still have Andres Jimenez. You've got a Gold Glover in center field, Miles Straw. So, like we've been saying, the pieces are there. We have seen a lot of times recently in sports, new young managers, coaches come in and elevate teams instantly. We see it a lot in the NFL too. Why can't this Guardians team elevate with Stephen Vogt?
I like that.
Did they? I totally agree with you. One question, though. Did that coach that they replaced have a guy that was like Terry Francona? This fan base has been accustomed to him for 10-plus years, pretty much. And it's just going to take some time getting used to not seeing Tito on the front steps of the dugout. That's all I'm going to say, because this is a guy that is the greatest manager in the franchise's history. And obviously, this is not a knock on Stephen Vogt at all. It's just going to be a change. Could this be a year where you're going to have to wait it out and see, hey, you know what? We may have to ride that 500 wave, maybe a little bit under. But once we go 2025, that'll be the year that we'll, or if you're the Guardians camp, you're saying to yourself, okay, this will be the year that we take the Central. This is the year that we'll try and make a run at the postseason, because now we have the bats, we have the rotation and pitching. It's just all got to come to fruition since we got that 1 year under his belt for Vogt.
I will say this, as Guardians fans have been asking for a big, free agent, spend some money, get us a power bat, and we got blue seats and Carlos Carrasco this offseason. So we'll see how they do, but doesn't seem like the front office is putting in too much of a commitment into winning games, more so than pleasing their fans and making the ball game experience nice.
That is a major problem.
Yeah.
It is. The question isn't, is the talent there? It's one section. Are the bats there? Are the people who can hit the ball there? The bullpen? Tristan McKenzie's coming back. Tanner Bybee had a phenomenal year. Shane Bieber is fighting off trade rumors left and right. So you've mentioned Miles Straw, Andres Jimenez, even guys, Stephen Kwan is.
Josh Bell?
Yeah.
You got to do that. You had to throw that big name free agent we had in there.
Half the time, Josh Bell. The idea of Josh Bell.
The Josh Bell concept.
The Josh Bell concept.
Oh my God.
Paradox for every Guardians.
No, it's really guys like Kwan, Straw, Jimenez aren't power bats.
Right.
They're defensive-minded players. For
I'm
sure.
looking for Bo Naylor to step up and have a big
Oh,
year
absolutely.
alongside his brother Josh.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we don't get hit by the injury bug. Last
That
season
was
was
crazy.
extremely detrimental to the
Sticks.
team. Yeah. I mean, Tristan McKenzie pitched for his jersey giveaway day, and that was about it last season.
I mean, you guys, this is a league with no salary cap. And we see so much with small market baseball teams not being willing to open the checkbook, not being willing to make these moves. There's no salary cap. There's no penalty for spending money. It boggles my mind to watch these teams on the cusp of relevance and on the cusp of success hinder their own progression by stagnating themselves and just staying where they are by not wanting to go out and make the move to bring themselves to the next level.
And to very quickly away, on that same point, if you look at a team like the Diamondbacks, went to the World Series, what did? They started shelling out some money because they know their window has opened. Cleveland opened a window, let it shut again. Now they are looking, can they reopen a title window, even a division championship window yet again?
Well, I know the Twins are looking to repeat on their division. They brought in Carlos Santana, which is a big bat for the Twins.
Yes.
Yep.
And now, when we're going to return, we'll take a look at the NBA trade deadline. Who are the winners and who are the losers? We'll be back after this.
Now it's time to discuss the NBA trade deadline. The winners, the losers, and who's our favorites to come out of their respective conferences.
So now it's time for some NBA trade deadline talk, and I'm just going to get the discussion started, boys. I've got the New York Knicks as my trade deadline winners, which is a little concerning as Cavs fans since they beat us in the playoffs last year. But, things would have been different if the Cavs didn't start winning at the trade deadline. So we'll see. What do you got, Ryan?
I've got a few winners. For me, I think the 76ers, the Mavericks, and the Knicks, big winners at the deadline. And for me, a loser, it's the Indiana Pacers. Trading away Buddy Hield makes no sense to me. And then I think the Memphis Grizzlies also another loser. They sold a lot at the deadline. They got rid of Dennis Roddy, first-round pick from a year ago. Doesn't really make much sense to me.
I've got one winner, one loser. My winner is a player. We've mentioned the New York Knicks twice already. We clearly see them as winners.
Yep.
Jalen Brunson is a winner of this trade deadline. Why? When he came to New York from Dallas, the questions were, is he the guy? Is Jalen Brunson really going to be the dude that can elevate New York to a contender? The moves they made for Alec Burks and Bogdanovich solidify that. They believe in Jalen Brunson, and if I'm Jalen Brunson, my confidence is through the roof. You now know this organization believes that I'm the one who can get this team to a title, as they have built a roster around me. We saw it in the past when they brought in Josh Hart, who he played at Villanova with. They traded for OG Anunoby earlier on before the trade deadline. Clearly the Knicks believe in Jalen Brunson as their guy, and once Julius Randle gets healthy, they are a very dangerous team. My loser, the Chicago Bulls. Why? They did nothing. They haven't made a trade at the deadline since 2021. The problem with that is they have relegated themselves to mediocrity. They have relegated themselves to a ceiling of a first-round exit, as DeMar DeRozan is only getting older. Nikola Vucevic is only getting older. Lonzo Ball, we don't know when he's going to step on the court again. Zach LaVine had season-ending surgery. You lose your number one scorer, arguably, in Zach LaVine, and you do nothing at the deadline, relying on guys like Patrick Williams, Kobe White, and Ayo Dosunmu to develop, when Kobe White has been the only one to develop as a reliable scorer. Not saying Patrick Williams and Ayo Dosunmu don't have their positives as defenders. The problem is they are relegating themselves to mediocrity and not capitalizing on DeMar DeRozan, who is one of the best pure scorers in basketball.
Valid point. And
I've got a
Matt,
few.
what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, fellas. I wasn't blown away with this year's deadline. I feel like teams were a lot more conservative. No big names went out this deadline. But I do have some winners. It's actually the teams that are currently holding down the one seeds in their respective conferences, Minnesota and Boston. The Celtics got Xavier Tillman, the power forward from Memphis. They can help him out down low. This team loves to shoot the ball. And I feel as though that if you have that guy to help you out down low, that's going to really help you out in the second half of the season. And the Wolves, they get a good guard to back up Mike Conley in Monte Morris. He routinely ranks among the NBA's leaders in assist-to-turnover ratio. And if, God forbid, something happens to Conley, Monte Morris will be there to clean up the slack. And for losers, I have the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers. These are teams, two teams in the Western Conference, that you don't really are used to looking up in the Western Conference standings. Mm-hmm. Right now they are. What do? Nothing. They think that they can just win and go on a run with the guys they have now. What have we seen that proves that stance?
Nothing.
It's nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. And another loser for me, this is kind of like a special loser, the Los Angeles Clippers, because of P.J. Tucker. Very adamantly wanted out of Los Angeles. He said after he didn't get in, he's like, man, this is effing BS. Can you imagine your Clippers front office? Now you have to worry about, hey, is this guy even going to try? Is this guy even going to want to play? Are we going to have to worry about subbing him in and out? Are we even going to have to worry about him coming to the arena? These are problems that have to be dealt with now because he didn't trade him away.
I personally think the staff just didn't want to have to deal with moving his 2,000 plus shoe collection out of where they keep all of it, and so they just said, we'll just keep him around so we don't.
His bloated contract.
Yeah.
I mean, P.J. Tucker. I mean, at his age and his ability level, he's not really tradable. So he's just in a rough situation. I have two other moves I want to talk about. I really, really like the Dallas Mavericks trading for P.J. Washington. That is a fantastic move. They've been infamous for not getting Luka Doncic help at the deadline, not getting Luka Doncic a team around him that can win, that can actually go deep into the playoffs with confidence. This is a move that puts the Dallas Mavericks into the upper echelon in the Western Conference. Grant Williams did not fit at all for the Mavericks in their system on that team. Getting him out of there and replacing him with a guy like P.J. Washington, who is really a three-level scorer and a pretty good defender, is going to do wonders for them. And also, Gordon Hayward to the Thunder. Great move for OKC to bring in a veteran, a guy like Gordon Hayward who's been around the league for a while, knows what you have to do to win. He's been around winning teams, knows how to come back from adversity. You saw from his ankle injury in 2018. I like that move for the Thunder. They are a very young team. They need veteran guys in that locker room if they want to make a run this season, kind of a surprise run. So great move there.
I'm going right for the birthday boy. Happy birthday. I know it was your birthday yesterday, but I got to come at you right now. Couple things. I thought the Pacers moving Buddy Hield and getting 5 players for it, 2 players and 3 picks, I thought that was a pretty good move. One guy being traded for a whole squad, 5 players, I thought that could be, I know he's a big player for them, and Coach Carlile was trying to make things work. Love the name, by the way. But I just think that him getting 5 players, I thought that was a pretty good return on investment. And then I like what you said about the Mavericks.
ROI, nice. Like ROI. Little marketing terminology there. Yeah. Also, shout out to Furkan Korkmaz. He finally got his trade request granted 5 years after saying he wanted out of Philadelphia. So, Furkan, if you ever see this, I'm happy for you. I hope you love it in Indiana, and I hope you are a 50, 40, 90 player and first team All-NBA next season, because with how much you requested a trade, that's what you have to do to make it worth it.
Yeah, Korkmaz's going to watch this.
Yeah, Furkan Korkmaz, game changer for the Indiana Pacers.
All right, and now we're going to jump into the NFL as we wrap up overtime here, boys. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
It's Super Bowl weekend time. Let's get it started.
And finally, on overtime, we discuss the NFL honors from last night and the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday, February 11th.
Quick change.
Microphone is under there, but I hope y'all can still hear me. Joe Flacco, NFL Comeback Player of the Year yesterday.
I mean, come on. Who else deserved it?
Matthew Stafford.
Oh,
okay. All right.
Okay.
Oh, brother.
Here we go.
I will make this very quick. Matthew Stafford returned from a season-ending injury, which has been set as a kind of precedent for winning the award. If I remember correctly, Andrew Luck won Comeback Player of the Year after coming back from a season-ending injury. The Rams' Super Bowl defense was a complete failure, and in part of that was Matthew Stafford going down halfway through the season Cooper Kupp. He returns, puts up good numbers, nothing eye-popping, nothing spectacular, but he still proves he is a starting-level quarterback and a higher-tier quarterback than some other guys in the league, leads the Rams to the playoffs, and barely loses in Detroit as the 6th seed playing against the 3rd seed. I understand Joe Flacco, came off the couch, didn't play. I understand why he won the award, but I truly do believe that Matthew Stafford should have gotten maybe some more votes than he received.
What about coming back from a life-ending injury, though?
So,
because we saw a guy do that last season.
Here's the thing.
And he didn't win the award.
The Joe Flacco story is fantastic, right? It's a real, guy is in his upper 30s, comes off the couch after trying to find something later in the season, takes the team to the playoffs, wins a couple games, and it's real nice, right? Yeah, it's awesome. Damar Hamlin died on the field last year. He passed away. Here's the thing. I think they should have named, I thought this was a for sure thing, they should have named the Comeback Player of the Year after Damar Hamlin.
That's a safe.
How do you not, you passed away. How are you not going to win the Comeback Player of the Year? He came back from the dead.
This
is unbelievable.
Full Lazarus coming out of the tomb, back from, he was dead for a few minutes.
I know.
It wasn't just it wasn't a little thing. This is a miracle, a legitimate medical miracle.
And he played, and he was actually on training camp and playing in less than a year.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how he didn't win. It's a shame.
It is.
It's a shame.
Now,
all respect to, I apologize.
Exactly.
Yeah, all respect to Joe Flacco. He had a heck of a season, but the fact that this guy, who passed away for a few minutes on an NFL field, came back to an active roster and played, it's a travesty.
So that's
absolutely
why
travesty.
The majority of the people who voted, he had the most first-place votes. Joe Flacco won the award on second-place votes. He won by an electoral college decision.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got electoral college. It's crazy. But, oh, man, there's that. And then NFL honors, everything went as expected except for that and one more award. the Defensive Player of the Year.
Here we go.
Should have been T.J. Watt. It should have been T.J. Watt. Myles Garrett was awesome this season for 3/4 of it. I know, tiny violin. But T.J. Watt, from week 1 to week 18, was dominant. And he was the best defensive player the NFL has ever seen this season.
And, I mean, I agree with you. Myles Garrett was not the best defensive player, but neither was T.J. Watt.
Here it comes.
Who
Come on, say
in
it.
this league deserved the award
Max
more
Crosby.
than Max Crosby? Get some Maction, by the way, Eastern Michigan product, straight out of the factory.
Yes.
Let's do the old statistical rundown really quick. Max Crosby had more sacks, more tackles for loss, 13 more QB pressures, more quarterback hits than Myles Garrett, and he did it while being the most paid attention to player on the Raiders roster. He has no help. He gets chipped and double teamed, triple teamed constantly, every single play.
Gentlemen, your
on
points
that defense.
are valid.
And he is still the most dominant, the most powerful
points are valid.
rusher in the entire league.
But the
I don't get
biggest
it.
snub last night, I love all of your points, they're all valid, but the biggest snub last night was Kent State legend Antonio Gates.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Hall of Fame.
Because
Yeah.
Mr. Gates, we would love to have you on the show one day. You know, that you're an alumni of the program here, and we care about you. We think that
Yep.
you were snubbed and you should have been in the Hall of Fame class for the 2024.
That is arguably the leading catcher in receivers and tight ends, I believe.
He,
a lot
most touchdowns.
touchdowns,
Yep,
excuse me.
most
yes.
receiving
a lot
touchdowns.
of top 10, top 5 appearances for Antonio Gates in tight end category. I don't know how he didn't get in.
And Devin Hester did.
Yeah,
Like, are we kidding?
We talked about this
So-
before.
so,
Devin Hester's all
Yeah,
fame.
I was watching the show, and they were going through the people who got in the Hall of Fame, and I saw Devin Hester, and I audibly pumped my fist and went, yes! And then there was no Antonio Gates, and I said, now wait a minute. There's no way you're not including, in my opinion, top 3 greatest tight end ever.
Absolutely.
It's like him, Gronk, Tony Gonzalez, and then Travis Kelce's getting up there. Antonio Gates was a specimen on the field. Him, Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the best offenses ever.
The reason why I laughed just now was because we can hear our producer, Gabe Collura. The great thing about this show is everyone, even in the control room, is getting involved. He goes, he's not top 3. This is a debate amongst everybody.
Yes, he is!
But yeah, go ahead.
For those who don't know, Antonio Gates' jersey is hanging in the rafters of the Mack Center here at Kent State. He's a Kent State basketball legend. He's led one of the farthest performances in Kent State basketball
The
history,
farthest.
all the way to
Yeah,
the
to
Elite
the
Eight.
Elite Eight. Mhm.
So,
And
Legend.
they put in a guy who was a specialist. He was a
Now,
career
he
specialist.
was-
He
was
tried.
best at what he did.
He tried to play cornerback.
That's how Josh
He
Cribbs is
was
gonna
not
get it.
good
All
enough
right.
to play
wait a
cornerback in the
minute.
NFL.
Okay.
He tried to play wide receiver. He was
Hester
not good
walked
enough to
so
play wide
Cribbs can
receiver
run.
in the NFL. He was a 1-down, 2-down player on either side of the ball, and the only thing he did at an above-average clip was return the football.
And he was legendary
yes,
at it.
It's impressive. But to me, to be in the Hall of Fame, you have to play a position, one of the 11 spots on either side of the ball. You can
Interesting.
be a specialist, but you have to also have that dominant ability on
Do you
offensive
so specialists don't mean anything to you position-wise at all? Do you not consider them like a position?
No,
That's-
not for Hall of Fame purposes.
we're going to have to pick it up after the Super Bowl
I don't
weekend,
think we're Hall of
boys.
Fame purposes.
Last thing, I got the 49ers taking it all this weekend. Who you got?
Yep.
You can expect the dynasty to be in Kansas City, Missouri. I don't even know why we're talking about
Okay.
this.
Real quick, who you got? Going away.
I'll be rooting for the Chiefs, but if the Niners don't win it this year, they
2
won't
Chiefs,
ever.
1 49ers.
so-
Maddox, bring us home.
49ers are better all-around
And we're
all-around team.
split. We will see you next week on Overtime here presented by Sports Corner. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in next week.
Brandon Ayuk, Super Bowl MVP.